I'm Anne-Marie Imafidon, CEO and co-founder of Stemets. I love the idea of the ideas cross-populating and it being a stage. You could have very easily said it's Leeds International Festival of Ideas. Let's have folks from Leeds talking to international. Right. So in my line of work, COVID has made a couple of things more difficult. And I think the operative word is more in the answer I'm going to give. So these are things that were issues initially that have been ground down or have been accelerated or have evolved or become worse as a result of COVID and the pandemic and the lockdown and everything else. So the number one has been what we've ended up calling digital poverty. And at Stemets, we've always said free, fun food. We've always set up these spaces for folks to be able to access and said, kind of get yourself to the door. And sometimes we even help you get to the door. But when you're here, we'll give you the food, we'll give you the devices, we'll give you the environment, we'll give you the space to learn and to connect. And so kind of number one was, it was a privilege. I mean, we look back now and you can see it was a privilege to be able to say, come and join in and be a part of this and use these devices. Where during lockdown, during the pandemic, folks being isolated, being stuck at home, the rest of it, it's kind of shown up what we didn't see. By bringing them to a space, we then didn't see where they were coming from. And so that idea of digital poverty, device poverty, lack of access to devices, to the internet, to whatever it is, ended up being an additional thing to tackle for us at Stemets, where it wasn't just, I've got the devices, now I have to get them to you. Now I have to get data or internet to you. Now I have to do IT support via the phone or at distance. I now have to post food out to you as well, for being a part of this. And, delivery services and the rest of it aren't actually everywhere, despite what we might think in the middle of Leeds. So in terms of some of the biggest barriers that we have in the way of us achieving equality, as however we want to define that, whatever that might look like, I think it's a tough one to kind of just pinpoint a couple. It's such a multifaceted issue. When we talk about equality by law here in the UK, we have the 2010 Equalities Act. There are 9 protected characteristics. We all know, if you kind of look at those, that we're much more than, if I say I am female and I say I'm not pregnant and I say I'm not disabled and all those, I'm more than just those 9 lenses. And so I think when we talk about the barriers that we have, the ranking is, I almost feel like I can't rank what they would be, mostly because it's, who do you value over them? You shouldn't, right? And so I think a number of things from where I'm sat are really getting in the way of equality. I think one of them is our understanding of history. And when we talk about equality, and when I talk about diversity and inclusion and I talk to all kinds of different audiences around the world about this, I think the number one thing I almost always end up jumping to is we have to understand how we got to today, how we got to here. And there's a comic I end up showing that people have seen time and time again of kind of 3 people trying to look over a fence to watch a baseball game. And one of them is really tall, one of them is really short, one of them is average height, right? And we look at this idea of equality being everyone, give everybody the same height box so that they can see over the fence. And we have to remember, no, if that person is tall, they actually didn't need the box to see over the fence. If that person is short, they do need a box. And the person in the middle of height probably does need a box, but not as big as the person that's shorter, right? And so this idea of equitable practice, saying that we understand that folks are different. And so we need to understand that for them to achieve, to reach their potential, to access the things that they need to survive and to function properly in society, those things differ. And it's not because we want to value someone over someone else, or we want to celebrate, or we want to give special treatment to a particular person. But if that person is different in that way, if that's the journey that they've had up until here, if they've had to jump more hurdles, for whatever reason it is that the system doesn't recognize as important, then we're going to have to act and do something slightly different. So what I'm most looking forward to tonight is some great questions after a good conversation. I mean, we're here with other human beings in the same room, so there's that, right? But them being able to kind of see the cogs going and them asking really good questions, challenging questions that we can't answer. I think that's what I'm looking for, to really difficult questions.